I saw you was at Nima.
That's true.
Yes.
For Alaji
Alaji and Alaji.
Yes,
Since we have many happy returns. Many happy. How has the year started for you?
Well, it's been hectic and quite depressing when you look at the state of our country. It's a lot of anguish, a lot of pain with the economy, all of this debt restructuring business, which has not received parliamentary approval, but they proceed with it as usual, headstrong, and causing a lot more excruciating hardship to the suffering masses of our people after they have plunged this country into economic doldrums. Then you do know that the entire governance, arrangement, is leadership paralysis. You have a president who appears to be living in another world. He claims his ministers are performing exceptionally, and yet the output is zilch. Every single indicator is the worst in living memory, from inflation to debt to GDP to the exchange rate, you name it. And yet there's a president who claims his ministers are performing. And then his flagship project, which we'll be discussing today, the National Cathedral, has,
that is his flagship project?
Yes, he said it's his priority of priorities.
Oh, okay.
Don't forget that.
Okay.
He said it's his priority of priorities. That's what he said. And if this is your priority of priorities, and you can't do it right, you can't show reverence to the Almighty, then even a promise to God, see what is happening. See the criminal cartel which has been erected around this project, and we'll be delving deep into that. Then you wonder, how about promises to mortal men, to mere mortals? And no wonder every single aspect of our country is in a mess, a big, terrible mess. It's really depressing, Senna.
We'll be entering into the matter of the National Cathedral shortly, but I just wanted to take your view on something. I know you are not particularly one of the spokespersons on matters of finance, and you usually don't veer into that area a lot. But I want to find out. I heard government has entered into an arrangement with the UAE for gold for oil. And I was wondering whether that does not qualify for under the definition of is it an international agreement that requires the approval of Parliament, if that agreement really does exist. I was wondering, Monday the matter came up, I was asking that question. What do you think about it?
I saw that in the news, very scanty information. No details have been shared with the Ghanaian public. But on the face of it, it's clear to me that that is an international agreement, and the 1992 Constitution is very clear. So your own analysis seems to me to be very spot on, that this matter must be brought to the House for ratification. But I won't be surprised. There have been many of these agreements, similar conduct, and you would have to push and pull, virtually compel government to do what is right. It's just like this National Cathedral matter we'll be discussing in terms of the use of taxpayer funds. We know the Constitution does not allow you to use taxpayer funds without parliamentary approval. Nobody in this country can spend without parliamentary approval. They continued for many years. When they were exposed, they tried to hide under contingency. So, in my mind, I'm clear that even with the scanty information we have, the information they have put out, this is an agreement that should come to Parliament for approval. And not only that agreement, as I said earlier, the entire debt restructuring program. You see, if you read the 2023 budget, I think paragraph 278, the finance minister himself said that they will go engage with stakeholders and then revert to the House. That engagement has not taken place. They have not come back to Parliament for approval. So I am clear in my mind that all of these international agreements which are being touted all over the place with very dubious, objectives. They will have to be brought to Parliament for thorough scrutiny. And you see, if you have nothing to hide, if you are running a government transparently, and you have confidence in your policies, and you respect the Ghanaian people, you must be accountable to them. You must be accountable to them. So even if you think that it is a gray area, it's a matter that you can probably, fudge and talk your way out of it, you create some wiggle room for yourself. You must just do what is right. That's what good governance, all governments across the world who have high good governance credentials, whose transparency and accountability landmarks are that worthy of praise. They make sure that they always submit to Parliament for thorough scrutiny, and they make sure they carry the House of Parliament along. Because you see, you are engaged in all of this in our name. Sovereignty resides in the people. The people's representatives are in Parliament. And you cannot, especially in the dying moments of your presidency, you cannot run again. Even if you could run, you will lose abysmally, because you've been such a disaster. You must make sure that all of these things are open, they're very transparent, and that everybody, including the opposition, knows exactly what is going on, what kind of commitments you are making. And you see, there is legal authority. Don't forget that in the Gitmo 2 case, the Supreme Court held that all international agreements, no matter how minute, even if it is an MOU, even if it is a note verbal, even if there are no financial obligations on the part of Ghana, read the Gitmo 2 case, you must submit, once it is an international agreement, you must submit that agreement to Parliament for ratification before you move into execution. The Supreme Court did not mince words at all. So these are matters that are really settled, and there are so many other cases that one can cite. And I'm surprised that a president who was a former Attorney General will be engaged in all the strings of lawlessness that we see him engaging.
Well, if you just join us, I have Honorable Member of Parliament for North Tongu in the studio with me. What we are going to discuss is the matter of the National Cathedral, especially the latest post you made on the National Cathedral. But before we go there, have you seen the resignation letter of Bishop Dag Heward-Mills?
Yes, I have.
What are your thoughts on some of the things he's suggesting, that he wasn't part of those who were registered as trustees, even though his name was constantly there? He's even talking about trustees not approving some of the decisions that have been made, including the choice of the architect that was being used. He had problems with cost, among others, that is raised in his resignation letter. What do you make of the things that he's suggesting?
Clearly an explosive letter, and I must commend Bishop Dag Heward-Mills for his exceptional courage. He has shown that he has integrity, and he believes in the principles and doctrines of Christianity, which they teach us on a very regular basis. They are the disciples who teach us the gospel, and they break it down for us, and they give us inspiration, and they tell us to eschew evil and all semblance of it. They tell us to stay away from corruption. They tell us to be accountable, to be transparent, to walk the straight, narrow, righteous path. So when I see a bishop of his caliber exhibit those traits, it is very, very commendable. And this morning I must salute Bishop Dag Heward-Mills. It is important to emphasize that all the things that Bishop Dag Heward-Mills put in his resignation letter and before the resignation letter, the previous letters, are matters that I have been raising for many, many months. Remember that I revealed for the first time in June last year that after securing the National Cathedral of Ghana incorporation instruments, it became clear to me that we were being misled. There were two distinguished members of the clergy, including Bishop Dark, who, even though they had been used for extensive advertisement, they had published their names with their photos, their effigies were everywhere, to court credibility and to create the impression that the entire, leadership of the Christian community, particularly those very, revered and famous ones, are all on the board of trustees and are with this project. I revealed that there's some fraud going on. When you go through the incorporation instruments, Dark Heward Mills was not listed. He was not registered. I revealed that in June. You recall that the National Cathedral Secretariat, in their usual ridiculous responses, then claimed that it was an administrative lapse and that they had received all his documents and had told him they were going to have him registered, but they had some difficulties. For 6 good years?
But the bishop said he's known this for 6 years. He's been expecting them to correct it.
So, cock and bull story. Cock and bull story. No, the bishop says that, that they did not correct this in 6 years until it was revealed. It's unacceptable. And I agree with the bishop. Then remember that in July, and listeners can Google that, in July, I also revealed that Bishop Dark Heward Mills had written at least 3 letters. And he was not being responded to. I had intercepted those letters. And they were raising fundamental questions. Fundamental questions on accountability. Fundamental questions on cost, on location, on even the corporate governance structure and system that was going on.
The role of the trustee.
How a cabal behind the scenes were those really calling the shots. How it will appear that this project had just become a cash cow where money was being laundered very far away from the project. So it had really nothing to do, for a lot of people, this whole National Cathedral opportunity was not about going to build a temple for the Lord, to glorify God, to honor our Maker and Creator. To them, it was another conduit to siphon funds. And Bishop Dark Heward Mills had raised these things. And you see, Bishop Dark was really protecting his credibility and his innocence. And legally, he was doing all of this to protect himself because he knew of the legal consequences of a trustee. If you are presented as a board of trustee and there's a lot of wrongdoing going on, misapplication of funds, blatant corruption, naked conflict of interest, theft, graft, call it what you may, and you are board of trustees, all of these things are going on in your name. If you are not protesting, if you are not making clear that all of these things happening, you don't endorse it. So all of those letters, which I intercepted in July last year, at least gave me some confidence that there are some clergy in there who are resisting what some of us had put out earlier, that look, if care is not taken, many people are going to go to jail. because of the naked stealing. You see, throughout the history of mankind, people have used, or I should say, misused the name of God. They know that God is revered, and once you mention God and you say that a project is for God, ab initio, people will want to grant you, a lot of credibility, and will want to cut you some slack, and will want to, as it were, accept you, and say that, oh, it's God's project. But throughout history, many people have committed atrocities. I mean, who is one of the most wanted men in Africa? Isn't it Joseph Kony? What was the name of his group? The Lord's Resistance Army. Can you believe that? How blasphemous. All these people going around, these extremists, these fundamentalists, these terrorists, they are all doing that in the name of God. So throughout history, right, from the Crusades, all throughout, even now, modern, contemporary times, you find people just misusing and abusing the name of God. And they think that once they mention God, everybody will back off. There will be no scrutiny. Because once God is mentioned and is at the center or placed at the center, supposedly, people lose their rational abilities. So, if you read the things that Doug Hayward Mills has said, look at some of the quotes. He says, quote, "You may recall I've spoken passionately and written extensively about the costs, the design, the location, the fundraising, the mobilization of the churches, and the role of the trustees. These, if indeed, will have made our project more achievable. Generally speaking, my inputs, my opinions, and my letters have been trivialized and set aside." Can you believe that? Bishop Dark continues. He says, "I have been a reachable and available trustee and attended every single meeting of trustees since the pandemic began, in person and by Zoom, and the records will show that. If I say that as a trustee, I do not know many of the financial and technical issues concerning the cathedral, it means the discussions about the National Cathedral were held by some people outside the trustees. Outside the trustees. Or perhaps in a forum that I was not present or invited to." Damning. Nothing can be so damning. Then he continues. "On the one hand, the National Cathedral is said to be a government of Ghana project, with the government taking financial decisions. Yet on another hand, at meetings, it is implied that the trustees have taken or participated in taking some decisions." Explosive.
And that's a trustee.
A trustee.
Saying that he was not part of this decision-making processes. Basically, he does not even understand his role as a trustee. He is not clear on whether they are the one building the cathedral or government is the one building the cathedral. They're just watching on and everything. And you are saying all this does not surprise you because you saw the documents far, far early.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And let me tell you for the first time that when the board of trustees were first put together, at their first meeting, some of them were totally shocked when they were told by the president that they shouldn't go near anything about design, that he has his own architect. At the first meeting, when the president put them together, that is what the president told them. And that is where I probably would have expected that all of them will have left. Only Otabel, after that meeting, didn't show up.
So he never attended any other
meeting? Yes, after that first
meeting.
Pastor Mensah Otabel left. So President Akufo-Addo told them that when it comes to design, the architect for the job, he has his own architect.
Okay.
He has his own architect, he has his own design. I know that for a fact.
Very first meeting, and then you are told as a trustee that you are not making the decision on the architect. You have made that decision already.
Yes.
And the president is not a trustee.
He's not a trustee. Can you believe that? I know that for a fact. Then on this matter of cost, I can also reveal to you for the first time that one of the very senior bishops told them that, look, he's concerned about cost, that he can build this for $50 million maximum. $50 million. They don't even, at the time, they were mentioning $100 million. And he said, look, we can do this for half. We have been building churches. Look at the churches we have built all over. And Ghana's Christian religious landscape, the churches, rivals in terms of church architecture, church buildings. Yeah. I mean, you've gone to the Kodesh, you have gone to, you know, the Perez Dome, you know, you've gone to the Dominion place. You see the magnificence, and this senior pastor told them in the meeting, I know that on authority. You see, what many people do not know, I've heard some people say, oh, I mean, is he not a Christian? Couldn't this have been handled quietly? Let me reveal again for the first time, Senna, that at the beginning of this crusade, when I realized that the name of God had been so defiled and brought into disrepute, I went to some of these eminent priests and told them that, look, I'm discovering a lot. Even you people, when I read your public pronouncements, it's clear to me that you are not being told the truth. Okay. This was last year. Because that was the time I had intercepted documents of copious releases from the Consolidated Fund. Massive releases on the blind side of Parliament. Meanwhile, some of these priests had gone on the record, and everybody knows that a prominent priest like the Archbishop Duncan Williams put his credibility on the line. And how it pains me that President Akufo-Addo would do that to the credibility of the Archbishop. Credibility he has built over many decades. This is the extract. This is November 13, 2018. Okay. Archbishop Duncan Williams. Nobody has asked you for money to build National Cathedral, so shut up. Because he had been given full assurances. The board had been given full assurances. And you hear in the letter, which I read, Bishop Dakeward Mills saying that now he doesn't even know whether it's a church project or it's a national project. Because they were told that it's the church that's going to build it. Christian contributions. So somebody like the revered Archbishop, who I hold in high esteem, and I can reveal to you that when those documents were intercepted, to be fair to them, eminent men of God, there was a meeting. I had a meeting with them and shared the details. To be honest with you, they were really surprised. The payments to Ajay in particular. And you see, to be fair to this board of trustees, and Dakeward Mills is right, the payment warrants which Ken Oforiatta signed, copies of which I have here, most of those payments were made directly. The payments to Ajay were made directly. I've cited two warrants. One paid from the Ministry of Finance, one from the presidency. If you look at them carefully, they were paying directly to Ajay's accounts. It didn't go through the board of trustees. So when Bishop Dak says that it looks like others are taking the decisions, we don't know what is going on, it's true. And in those meetings, it was clear that they had no idea that this is what had gone on behind the scenes. So you have a situation where the government is making direct payments without recourse to not only the trustees, but the laws of our country. Remember that On the 4th of July last year, I raised a right to information request and asked the Public Procurement Authority of Ghana to let the Ghanaian people know if they are aware of the National Cathedral project. Did they grant any procurement approval? What procurement processes were followed? Was it sole sourcing? Was it competitive tender?
Okay.
On the 5th of July, the Chief Executive Officer responded, Mr. Mante, a copy of which I have here, and stated emphatically that they have no idea. Absolutely no idea. There was the procurement processes were not followed. They were not respected. Can you believe that? Look, if there is any project that we will approach with absolute holiness, purity, reverence for what is right, what is pure, what is just, it should be this project. Because this is the Lord's project. And as Christians, we know that the only time Jesus the Christ was so angry and took the whip was in that church in Jerusalem, that temple, where he saw that they were defiling the temple. He said, how dare you guys? Don't you know that my Father's house shall be a house of prayer, a holy place? How dare you guys engage in usury, bribery, corruption, turn their tables, and gave them the lashes of their lives? The only time Jesus the Christ had to get physical. So as Christians, we know. You go to 1 Chronicles. David, who had been described as a man after God's own heart, when you read the Bible, the Almighty stopped him. He said, you can go ahead and do anything. You are a wise king. You are dynamic. You can do anything. But building a temple for me, no. Stop it. You are not worthy. You have shed blood. Don't even try. David was so remorseful, was so pained, but he had been stopped. All he had to do was buy the material and hope that his son will build it. And that's what happened subsequently. David was stopped. The Lord said he had shed blood. So we all know that when it comes to the temple of God, even if this project should be done, and should be done in these times, because that's a major issue that we must confront. Because look, I agree with the Catholic Bishops' Conference. I am on all fours with the Catholic Bishop Conference. When they issued a statement in June last year, Bishop Name was very clear. He didn't mince words. The Catholic Bishop Conference said, look, we don't need a cathedral now. In these times, the timing is wrong. I salute the Catholic Bishop Conference. The president and his propagandists have tried to create the impression that it's just a few Tobias and Sambalats and Antichrist and naysayers. He's so good at judging people, calling them names. Meanwhile, the real crime is happening right in his government. He's at the center. He doesn't see it. He's quick to clear his cronies, his assigns, his agents, but always happy to point fingers at others who are our only crime is that we are raising questions. And I want to salute Bishop Dark. He said that, look, citizens are asking legitimate questions. So those who were going out there saying that, people are antichrist, the pastors will be mad at them. You think that these pastors are not rational? They don't know the truth? In any case, what does Ephesians 5:11 tell us? When the pastors are preaching to us and they get to Ephesians 5:11, what does he say? He says that do not be partakers, don't fellowship with evildoers. Evil acts in the dark, don't partake. Rather, do what? Expose it. That is what we enjoy to do as Christians.
So, Sana, when you have a situation where a project of this nature, it proceeds on a basis of lies, blatant lies, and deception. What were we told? The president told the Ghanaian people, and the whole world for that matter, that this was a personal pledge to God.
And isn't that where the misjudgment comes
Yes.
in? Because you're seeing it as the law's project, when it should actually be the president's project, isn't it?
So, the president's personal pledge to God, personal pledge to God, is not a personal pledge to his late father or to his constituents, his constituency, JB people. It's to God. So let's grant, the president that reverence. It's a personal pledge to God. But look, we all as Christians make personal pledges, don't we?
Oh, of course.
The last time I was going into my primaries, the personal pledge was that, good Lord, you help me win. I would just go to the hospital and pay everybody's bills. Everybody at the Batok Catholic Hospital who is on admission. That was my personal pledge. As soon as I won, I did that. I didn't go call a Deba and say that chiefs and people help me redeem the personal pledge. Then it's no longer a personal pledge. Then it means you have deceived God.
Okay.
That's what it will mean. So we all make personal pledges as Christians. You redeem it personally. So how is it that this personal pledge, at what point did it metamorphose into a national pledge? You don't find it in the MPP manifesto. No. It was never put out in the public domain. When Ghanaians were voting in 2016, they didn't know that they were voting for a national cathedral. And indeed, when this whole project started, and there was a lot of brouhaha, there was quite some furore. People were saying that, look, this cannot be a priority now, and we are opening the floodgates. A gentleman called James Kwabena Bonfe, who is popularly referred to as Kabila, went to the Supreme Court saying that, look, this project will open the floodgates. We are picking signals that the president intends to use taxpayer funds. The Muslims will come and say, we too, we pay taxes, build a national cathedral for us. The traditionalists will come and say, we also pay taxes, build a national shrine for us. It will open the floodgates. I hold in my hands here the response from the Honorable Attorney General. A statement of case filed on behalf of the defendant on the 19th of April 2018. This is what this is how they misled the eminent judges. They said, we consider the National Cathedral. Respectfully, we submit that in this case too, the involvement of the government is very limited in nature. The government only proposes to provide a piece of land for the construction of a national cathedral by the different denominations. The funding for the construction and maintenance of the national cathedral is to be provided by the Christian community and not government. It is also proposed by government that the cathedral will be available for likely secular uses, for some state funerals, Thanksgiving services, etc. This is what they were told. And so in the subsequent judgment, a copy of which I have here, the judgment of the court, dated 23rd January 2019, the quorum was Adenyana Doche, Yebuag, Badegbe, Yakotobanfu, Beni, Mafusao. They said that based on what government has said, government's lawyer, that look, is only land, minimum contribution. They are not going to use taxpayer funds. So Kabila, you are crying wolf. You are exaggerating what is going to happen. You have no basis to claim that the floodgates will be open. So your case is dismissed. This is what happened at the Supreme Court. And the judgment has been reported 23rd January 2019, James Kwabena Bonfe Jr. versus the Attorney General. So see how many people were misled. The clergy, the judiciary, the people of Ghana. And you say you are going to build a temple for God based on lies, a foundation of blatant falsehood. And you think that you get a blessing of the Almighty for this project. Then I come to the method. You know, Bishop Dake Ward Mills talked about it. That the location. Look, this cathedral, anytime people say the cost is $400 million, really, it's a very understated figure. my analysis is that this project is more than $1 billion.
$1 billion.
It's more than $1 billion. By the time we are done paying for the recklessness of President Akufo-Addo. Why do I say that? You see, Bishop Dark is talking allocation.
Okay.
We could have gone, even if we decided there should have been a national debate and we discuss it, and if we say that, look, okay, these are the conditions, let's start this project. So if we had decided that we want to build this project, would the wisest thing to do not to look for a grain field, an unencumbered land? Haven't we been talking many years about decongesting the central business district? So we decided, and let me not robe in everybody, President Akufo-Addo and his cabal decided that on the blind side of the board of trustees, as we now know, thanks to Bishop Dark, that they are going to demolish vital installations, key structures, and put up this National Cathedral in their place. So we saw the Scholarship Secretariat. Can you believe that? Look at the rich history associated with the Scholarship Secretariat. Elsewhere, such buildings are preserved. They are listed properties. Even to paint it, to change the lock, to touch anything, you need permission. Because a building with such rich history, people like Kofi Annan, former UN Secretary General, have gone through there, processing their scholarships. People like Kwame Nkrumah, people like Professor John Evans Atamils, his Fulbright scholarship. People like Professor Nana Jopuko Ejiman and all of that. Great history at that place. It's been demolished. We don't know the value. These people don't know the value of anything. The passport office, which was newly renovated, as ranking member of the finance committee, I know, newly renovated, demolished. And you know, we've had to look for 10 million Ghana cedis to relocate the passport office. Is anybody adding that to the $400 million? Judicial Training Institute. Look at the rich history of the Judicial Training Institute. The number of jurists who have come from all over the world, many Commonwealth jurisdictions, to build capacity, to train. The Judicial Training Institute demolished. As we speak, do you know that the Chief Justice has put together a proposal and he's looking for a loan of $50 million to build a new Judicial Training Institute to replace that which was demolished. $50 million.
So when government demolished it, they did not build
No, they didn't build a new one. They are now putting up on the ground floor at the Law Complex building. That's where you find them on a temporary location.
The Law Complex building
yes,
on the High Street?
Yes, the one built by Professor Mills. They are at the ground floor. That's where they are managing, just putting up temporarily. So $50 million. Is anybody is what it will cost? Yes.
To build a new one.
Yes, because I have seen that document. I have a copy. You know, he submitted it to a number of banks, the World Bank, the ECOWAS Bank for Reconstruction, and you should hear what some of these bankers are saying about Ghana and how they see us. They can't believe the levels of, excuse my French, stupidity. $50 million. Who is adding that to the $400 million? Then Judges Bungalows, newly built, newly renovated Judges Bungalows. Do you know that we spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for their temporary relocation at cantonments, and then we are now spending millions to build a new permanent Judges Bungalows? In the process, an appeal court judge retired, painful retirement, a judge who had been awarded by the Ghana Bar Association as the most upright judge. Justice Said, he retired. And he said, look, give me some time. My wife has just returned from surgery. We've been asked not to do any heavy lifting. My wife needs time. The old lady needs time to recuperate. They said, no, the president says he's building his cathedral now. This was in May 2018. We lost that appeal court judge. He couldn't believe that, look, Ghana is not worth dying for. You think the pain and the suffering of all of these people, it doesn't mean anything to the Almighty. So, judges' bungalows demolished. That's not all. The demolition spree continued. Comsys IT firm, their headquarters, demolished. Waterstone Realty apartment complex, a new luxury apartment complex. They employed 180 Ghanaians. All of those people are unemployed as we speak. Do you know, Senna, that this Waterstone Realty, as we speak, they have not been compensated? They are at the High Court now demanding a judgment debt of 120 million Ghana cedis in compensation. So are you adding all of this to the $400 million? So you see the recklessness. This is a country, every expert admits that we have a major infrastructure deficit. There are so many buildings that we need that we don't have. A lot of even government institutions are squatting as we speak. The last time we met the new boundary commission where General Kotia is, we were shocked to see how much they are paying on rent every year, about 5 billion cedis. They don't have any structure, any office. They're spending so much on rent. Go and find out how much other agencies are spending on rent, like Bost. Millions of Ghana cedis. Because we say we don't have enough. The few we have, recklessness, mindlessness, lack of patriotism, and lack of common sense, we demolished all of them. So, these decisions, now we know that they were not taken at the level of the Board of Trustees.
They were taken by the president.
They were taken by the president. Why did the president do this to Ghana? Why? Why? So, you see, when I argue that the actual cost to the Ghanaian taxpayer of this project is not $400 million, but it's in the region of $1 billion. You see why? I'm not done with the demolitions. The Malian ambassador's residence. Can you believe that? Even diplomatic enclaves were not spared, regardless of the protection they enjoy under the Vienna Convention. They were not spared. Can you believe that? The Malian ambassador's residence was demolished. And the agreement with the Malian government is that there will be replacement. As we speak, they've identified land at Airport Residential. You know how much that costs?
The land alone?
Yes. Millions of dollars, not cedis.
The building has not been erected.
And the building has not been erected yet. And they are waiting. Government has not started the building yet. So put all of this together. You are in the region of $1 billion. How reckless can we do? I mean, can we be? And compare, you see, compare this $1 billion. That is how much it cost the Mills Mahama government to build the Etwabo gas project. Massive project, which has employed hundreds of people and created secondary jobs for thousands of people. See how it's transformed that enclave. Every year we are getting between $300 and $400 million as a country. See what another president has done with $1 billion. And what we see, as Dakeward Mills says, is a pit. And you see, Dakeward Mills, in his analysis, because he didn't even know what was going on, he says that $30 million and all they see is a pit. Dakeward Mills, clearly, because he doesn't know what was going on, he doesn't know that actually what has been released is $58 million. If you do, yes, not $30 million. So Dakeward Mills was very generous.
Which rate are you using to do the conversion?
When you do their own rate, you remember during the vote of censure committee, we asked Ken Oforiatta to give us a breakdown of total withdrawals. It came up to 339 million cedis. So he did his own rate. I think he was using probably 6 or 7. So if you use today's rate, you can imagine, you have to double it. $58 billion. So Bishop Dag has been very generous to them. It's not $30 million, $58 million. And let me reveal to you, Senna, for the first time, that the analysis that has been done by the contractors themselves, their documents I have here, is that all they have received and the work they have done is $22 million.
$58 million
yes.
spent, and they have received
$58 million of taxpayer funds withdrawn, but they received only $22 million.
But have they also done $22 million worth of
Yes, that's what they also are saying. They too have questions to answer. I agree with you.
$22 million
yes,
of work.
Yes,
is what we have.
Is the pit that we see.
It's 29 minutes past 9, which means that we are running into 30 minutes
yes.
to conclude this. But we also have to take a break. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll speak to the specific statement that has been issued by Rev Kusi Boateng.
Yes, and we must go into JNS. Yeah. JNS
okay.
In total.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll come back. We'll be right back to talk about Rev Kusi Boateng and JNS.
Imagine strutting into the most anticipated wedding of the year, only to see 7 other girls wearing your exact same outfit.
You are special and one of a kind, and that's why whether it's voice, data, or SMS, you get to enjoy personalized offers tailored to your specific needs with MTN just for you. Dial *141# or select your options on the My MTN app to redeem your unique just for you package on Ghana's best mobile network. MTN.
Say, Masuma Jome, many langard for any chakabia. Order for Sawo Passasia Mansu be anyone, Assasia won't cut a sub edimu. Look no further. Hearts Builders Real Estate, ever sorted out. Yawansa Sinibi was Shine Hills, 13,000 cities, Chopoli 20,000, Ningo Pram, plot size and a 70 by 100. By a deposit of 4,000 Ghana cities. Diakano, yes, spread them on, let's Yanaka Kaka, Pusumi Siatem, who was the baby, who perceive Besidan Esisumawa. Hearts Builders Real Estate, your right choice. Yet on plumbing materials, bia, ye delivery, our and cry anytime. Yes, sans your cleaning services, BAB, Boho, ye too, a Juba be for construction, hono, men kotu sikemu, for one Christmas promotion, ya. Hearts Builders Real Estate at the Mount so. Freya CCR 0555 314 806 0241 665 200. Yawa Ashamai, Yani Mandela Park no ena edi enimshe. Hearts Builders Real Estate. We are your future planners.
One station.
Accra 2022, 23, 24 and more. We don't chat, by Drema. Back live.
Commercial free.
This is Mid-Morning Show.
Oh, we love what you have in Bad Drema. Mid-Morning Show.
The Mid-Morning Show.
Yes.
90.5.
Good morning, my neighbors. On Children by Drema.
Experience quality
radio station.
Put your hands up.
Rave.
Yes.
Powerful. Morning vibes and more. Accra 90.5. We don't chat, by Drema.
Whoa, we love you.
Your Mid-Morning Show on Radio Go.
We are back like 100 times. 2 times bigger. 90.5.
All the things I know that you deserve.
Mid-Morning Show. Wait, don't tell me by Drema.
Mira, say dear, my one dinner basro.
Yeah, with me who so what dinner ba. Hey, Agbebe MW capsules. And I'm what dinner say. Can ye baby beer? Where the my bread, my tin can yade.
Say Agbebe MW capsules no. Abo mi ni pedua pomuden. And ama me gina me nine so. We dear, a money me nyina ne no. Enti ahoden no obi enye bi.
I like that. Agbebe typhoon so the drilling honam say. Won't me di. And now what yare. Num Agbebe typhoon bi. Le beme what edi kama da saa bo ni padua no akwo tia nyarewa
Venus Gota asami yem kro eye stomach ulcer yinsu de bibia da din dada
Venus Gota eye no kre one man na siesie ye hyem edi ye hu komose ya ne ani agye
esa ye beko pharmacy herbal and chemical shops dodo aye fre agbeve herbal products 020-8130-790 and 0246-595256 appeal for abata woma nufo ene nkoda woni mfie dumienu nka ho FDA agi edwede nkrato yatum.
And it's 33 minutes past 9. I have Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa in the studio with me. And now we're going into the matter of the statement that has been issued by Rev Victor Kusi Boateng. I understand you responded and said that you're now waiting for a statement from Cathedral.
Yes. I mean it. So.
But I thought they were one in the same person.
Yeah, but he's. I expected him to have, remembered his partner, and signed off as Reverend Kusi Boateng and Kwabena Edu Jemfi. But he hit Kwabena Edu Jemfi again and just signed off as Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng. So I said, okay, then I'm expecting the second threat of going to court. And these people think they can intimidate anybody in this country. Look, I'm a member of parliament carrying out my constitutional mandate. This is not personal. It is not mischievous. I am only doing my work. That is what is expected of members of parliament, to carry out oversight. What does Kusi Boateng Edu Jemfi appreciate? How does he think that parliamentary oversight works? So we are doing our work and nobody will intimidate us. Look, I was expecting that in that statement he will state emphatically that I am not Kwabena Edu Jemfi. I don't have two different dates of birth. I don't have two distinct things.
Okay.
When the GRA prohibits any Ghanaian from having two things, taxpayer identification numbers, I don't have two. I don't have different professions. I'm not businessman in some passports and then prophet in another passport, other IDs. I don't have different addresses. I'm not a dual personality. I'm only Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng. The Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa peddled falsehood or lied. That's what we're all expecting. Deal with the specific issues. Then this business of trying to hide under CHRAJ and then to say that after CHRAJ, then I'll deal with the MP. Deal with me now. What are you waiting for? Why are you waiting for?
You want him to deal with...
He should deal with me now. I didn't know he's such a coward. Deal with me now. What is he waiting for?
You're calling him a coward.
Damn coward. He should deal with me now. He rather is issuing threats because he thinks he can't be arrested. So now if it was you or me, look, these are matters that I take very, very, very seriously.
Because he calls it a twisted narration of trying to pursue a malicious political agenda.
See him talking about malice. See him. See who is talking about malicious agenda. See who has the audacity to talk about malicious agenda. And he even forgets that that's not the signature he uses when he's writing under Victor Kusi Boateng. He forgets. There are so many things I haven't put out yet.
No, this is not the signature
he forgets, yes. He forgets. I have 6 signatures for him. 6. Look.
He uses 6
different... I'm waiting for him at CHRAJ. I'm waiting for him. He even forgot. Let me give you... Check his signature here. And check this one, whether it tallies with that. I have 6 signatures for him. He was confused.
But this is Kwabena Edu Jemfi.
Yes. And there's Victor Kusi Boateng as well. He forgets all of that. He forgets.
Okay.
This is when this is the Cathedral document at the Cathedral Secretariat when he's Victor Kusi Boateng. This is his signature. Check. This is the Cathedral document.
Okay.
Does it tally with that?
No, not at all.
I'm waiting for him.
I see.
He should deal with me now and stop these empty threats about future court suits. He has even forgotten the signatures he uses when he's doing Victor Kusi Boateng. So look, these empty threats should be treated with the contempt that they deserve. Because I know that if it was me, if
you were the one who those...
Yes, if I were the one engaged in this, different dates of birth, different things, different passports, how can you be appointed by the same government to a board of trustees? And then they issue you a diplomatic passport. You request a diplomatic passport and you are given. That's why I say that when Parliament resumes, the Minister of Finance and the Minister for Foreign Affairs, the two of them, Minister of Finance who is making all kinds of payments to JNS, and there's no evidence of work done. And then the Ministry of Foreign Affairs issuing, look, diplomatic passport. There are 3 categories of passports. There's the ordinary passport, there's the service passport. You may want to play games with service passport, but diplomatic passport.
And you're confident this is a diplomatic passport?
Diplomatic passport,
not
yes.
Service passport?
No, it's a diplomatic passport. The highest, creme de la creme. Diplomatic
the suggestion has been they've been given service passport because of their constant movements in between Ghana and in a bid to raise funds.
No, it is a diplomatic passport. Diplomatic passport that he has been
a couple of things come up because he said you are twisting your narration is twisted.
So you know what is even funny? Look, see his choice of words. So twisted. So it means is only twisted, right?
Yeah.
Only twisted.
There's some truth to
yeah.
it, but you have twisted
twisted. Probably I added too much spice or too much salt. I'm in my own kitchen in North Town. He won't tell me how to cook the food. So he should put out the facts. Why is he, instead of dealing with the facts or dealing with me now, he's issuing threats? Why? Why is he doing that?
Well, he said you've already started a process at CHRAJ and you would like to use that platform to clear his name, to see your evidence and then rebut the evidence that you're putting forward properly before coming out publicly.
How ridiculous. How ridiculous. How ridiculous. So let me for the benefit of viewers, and by the way, let me show you for the first time that I have pictures when he was traveling on the diplomatic passport. So I don't only have the diplomatic passport, I have pictures and videos.
When he traveled with the diplomatic
Yes, with the diplomatic passport.
Okay.
We have been...
And it has to do with National Cathedral business?
We have been tracking him for some time. We was traveling to Lome and then traveling to Dubai. We have pictures, we have videos. So if they think we don't know what we are talking about, look, what we've put out in the public domain is just a tip of the iceberg. It's a tip of the iceberg.
You have more in?
Many more. Many more. Look, the CHRAJ investigations will be exceedingly interesting. That report, people must book their copies before CHRAJ finishes. If CHRAJ has a way where people can book their copies of their report, their investigative report, before they finish, they should activate that so that Ghanaians can book their copies before.
Yeah, perhaps he's anticipating that you have a lot, so he won't respond to the half information you put out.
It's more than a blockbuster. Even Prince Harris's book, Prince Harris' book, The Spare, won't come close to that CHRAJ report, I can assure you. Now, let's come to the genesis of JNS.
Okay.
Which is the company at the center of this conflict of interest scandal. But I hold in my hands a document that was presented to us in Parliament. And that's the first time we saw the company JNS. Okay. Remember that during the 2023 budget approval process, after exposing government and exposing their whole contingency hogwash, we insisted that the right thing to do, this project cannot qualify as a contingency because it's not unforeseeable, it's not an emergency, it's not an unpredictable situation. It's a project, you've planned for it, you have demolished people's property since May 2018. So you know that this project is going to take place, you know it's a multiple layer project over many years. They then finally conceded after we had exposed them. And so this time made an allocation in the 2023 budget of 80 million Ghana cedis. 80 million Ghana cedis. When they came to Parliament to defend that 80 million and to seek approval for it, we then insisted that now we know, thanks to the vote of Central Committee, that 339 million is what has been withdrawn. Initially, the documents we intercepted was hovering around 200 million. Okay. We didn't know that it was more. Okay. Now we even believe it is more than the 339. I'll tell you why in a jiffy. So the 339 million, we want the breakdown. Let us know how you spend the 339 million. Okay. Then they presented us with this document, a copy of which I have here. Quite a voluminous document, about 200 pages. And they gave the breakdown. Very interesting breakdown. You know, how they were cutting trees for 320,000 and, you know, paying 28.2 million to that dodgy American called Carrie Summers. And we are coming after him. Let me send a very clear message to Carrie Summers that he must refund Ghana's 28.2 million Ghana cedis. This is a character who has been indicted for antiquity fraud. The National Cathedral Secretariat claims that they gave him the money for coordination, that he is going to coordinate Biblical Museum, Bible Museum and Biblical Gardens. How ridiculous. Your role as a secretariat is to do coordination. If you can't do it, you can't coordinate, close the secretariat down. Close it down. Why are you outsourcing and giving our money? Between Ghana and America, who should be giving who money? Okay. 28.2 million to Carrie Summers, a dodgy American who has been indicted for antiquity fraud, a shonky businessman. 28.2 million in this situation where we can't pay pensioners, we can't pay school feeding caterers, we can't pay NAPCO trainees, we can't pay anything, but we have money for these dubious dealings. And you see why many people believe that this whole cathedral project has just become a money laundering scheme. So back to the document that Parliament was presented with. Under contractors' mobilization, when they were accounting, the Cathedral Secretariat was accounting to Parliament how they spent 157 million for contractors' mobilization. They told us that they gave a company called, and it's here, JNS Talent Center Limited. JNS Talent Center Limited. And you can look at it yourself. The heading is National Cathedral Secretariat Ghana, Summary of Disbursement of the Seed Money. Then under Contractors Mobilization, you have this 2.6 million. JNS Talent Center Limited.
I think you shared a photograph
yes,
of that.
Yes. Because propagandists of the government have claimed that, oh, I didn't do due diligence. If I had checked, I would have known that JNS was receiving a loan refund. Nowhere in this document did they state that this is a loan refund. Nowhere do they produce a loan agreement. Nowhere do they attach any board meeting, board resolution that they were cash strapped and they were going for loans. I'll be exposing that baloney soon. I'll get there. But let me just chronologically proceed. So this is where, when I saw this, I said, what's this? I have always known that there's only one contractor, Rebade Limited. Indeed, I've even gone all the way to Italy to engage Rizani Di Eka. And I know that they are the lead contractors. And indeed, I have secured, as I shared some time ago, the termination contract, termination of the contract they have with their workers when they abandon site on the 14th of March for lack of payment. So, Rizani Di Eka, Babisoti, and Disimoni formed the joint venture called Rebade. So, I was only expecting to see Rebade when it's about contractors mobilization. So this JNS, who are they? I then decided to look further. I secured their incorporation documents. And to my utter shock, I discovered that this is just a small company, stated capital of 500 cedis. Their only object of business is to do skills and talent development.
Skills and talent.
Skills and talent development.
Okay.
They don't do construction. They don't do architectural designs. Nothing. So I was like, skills and talent development.
That's the object of
the
company.
Object of the company. Yes.
As
registered
Okay.
at the Registrar General. Why they set it up? So I asked myself, National Cathedral, then skills and talent company. Why are they sharpening David Ajayi's talent, or are they sharpening the eminent clergy their talent in preaching the gospel, in evangelizing? Really, what are they doing around this project? So I decided to dig further because every aspect was not looking good. Then guess what? It emerged that the directors are three. Johannes Eshen, or Johannes Eshen, however he pronounces it. Sheila Eshen, and a third mystery director, Kwabena Edujemfi.
Okay.
As we dug further, we discovered that for the two, there's some activity, even online presence, even with the CHRAJ. The only business that this company has ever done is to open a CHRAJ at Dowenya-based CHRAJ, who is now loaning the National Cathedral. The CHRAJ has more money than the president's priority projects. How ludicrous. What I call infuriating juvenile lies.
So JNS Talent only has
a CHRAJ.
As far as you know.
Kindergarten.
Okay.
CHRAJ.
And they have 2.6 million to give.
Yes, to give to, yes. And they also do quick loans, apparently. You know. How ridiculous. So, we noticed that Johannes Eshen is the husband of Sheila Eshen.
Okay.
And is Osofu and Osofu Mami of Rev Kusi Boateng's church.
Okay.
They are the branch pastors. They said, this is getting interesting. Very interesting. Reverend Kusi Boateng's branch pastor is giving this sweetheart deal, 2.6 million. They say if it walks like a duck, looks like it quacks like a duck, looks like a duck, it must certainly be a duck. So this company, JNS, we have to stay here longer. We have to look deeper. Because everything you touch about this company, it leads you to something very interesting. So we said, who is this third guy? Kwabena Edujemfi, mystery figure. He doesn't appear anywhere. He doesn't feature anywhere. There was no phone number to him. The other two have phone numbers. And when I called Sheila Eshen, she said I should talk to only the MD, who has traveled and will be back in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And even that, to my shock, when I sent my team to go to their church just this last Sunday, Johannes Eshen was in the country preaching. He preached that Sunday. So they even lied to me when they said that he was away for 2 weeks and when he returns, they will call me back. I mean, why should men of God be doing this? Why should they be lying? If you don't want to answer my queries, just tell me. My folks go to the church and here they are, enjoying the man's sermons, taking pictures, sending me videos. I said, wow. Men of God can't even be truthful. So that's with Johannes Eshen and Sheila Eshen. But still, Kwabena Edujemfi remains a mystery. So I said, no, there must be something here. Let's dig further. Who is this mystery guy? So we do some more digging. And guess what? We discover that documents he has submitted when he was registering this company. Is Kwabena Edujemfi all right? I can share a copy with you here. Okay. Kwabena Edujemfi all right. But the picture is Reverend Kusi Boateng with a different signature.
Reverend Victor Kusi
Yes,
Boateng.
Reverend Victor Kusi Boateng. I've told you that he has 6 signatures.
With a different signature,
Yes,
I can see.
Yes, different signature. This is the picture of
Okay.
him. So I thought that, okay, maybe he's a twin or maybe a look-alike, So let's do some more digging. And you see, he used this passport G08860001. That's the passport number. And that's what he used to register. He claimed at the time that his date of birth is 30th December 1969. 1969.
Okay.
In the other supporting documents, when he was asked, have you registered as a taxpayer before October 2011? He said no. That was also a lie. And all of this we haven't put out yet. So there's a lot more that will be unraveled. Then, interestingly, he says that he's a businessman. Makes no mention of having any reverend ties or prophetic abilities. He just says he's a businessman. Provides,
for the purpose of the registration of the company.
Provides a different address. Very interesting. And a different place of abode, hometown, and all of that. Different. So when I hear this Dr. Paulo Pokumesa say that it is home name, I laugh. Home name. In any case, if Edu Jenfi is a home name, Kusi Boateng, where is that? Is it an Afghan name or a Pakistani name? Or Kusi Boateng has now become an English name or a French name? I mean, these people have no respect for us. They think we are not discerning. So I said, this is interesting. Let's dig further. Let's go and look at the Cathedral Secretariat. Remember that last year I secured the incorporation documents, and that's when I discovered that Dake Ward Mills had been deceived. He didn't know until I exposed it, that look, they don't really want you here. They're only using your picture and deceiving you. So we go through that and we notice that, interesting. Same picture, but a different name, Reverend Kusi Boateng. Different signature. And he's using a different address. And this time he used a driving license.
Okay.
A driving license, a copy of which I have here.
In the incorporation of the National
Cathedral. In the incorporation of National. And what is revealing is that they allowed National Cathedral and then the Registrar General allowed this to go on when they knew that the driving license had even expired at the time.
Okay.
It was from 2010 to 2016. And yet they did the incorporation in July of 2019.
Using the name